Welcome to Council Catch Up here on WSTO TV. I'm your host, Derek Westby, and I'm here with Mayor Swadley to talk about the last City Council meeting a little bit and the City Council meeting from last night. Welcome.
Good morning.
So on February 25th, 2025, there was a City Council meeting, and really most of it was just budgetary adjustments. But the real topic that you'd like to talk about from that is the public participation plan for the comprehensive plan.
Yeah, so every 10 years, the city is required by state law to do a comprehensive plan update. We've chosen to do ours a couple years early and do it over a 2-year period. And really the first component of updating that plan is the public participation component. So we want to get feedback from our community members to help shape how we grow in the future. And I understand that WSTO is going to be part of that process.
Absolutely. All right. So last night, March 11th, 2027, we had another City Council meeting. And you had the general roll call and all of the normal stuff at the beginning of the meeting. Was there anything under public comment period or consent agenda of any note?
Not so much under public comment. Nobody chose to speak. There were a few announcements. I updated the City Council on a few things. We're going to have a presentation from Ellers, our financial consultant, in April to give us kind of a status report of the shape and condition of our tax incremental financing districts. City clerk talked a little bit about the upcoming election. And then we also talked about Spread Goodness Day, which is this Friday. There's numerous events going on in the community. I'll be at the Senior Center with County Executive Agard for my monthly coffee with the mayor. And then the McCloskeys will be performing at the Senior Center at 1 o'clock. I'll be attending a pep rally at River Bluff Middle School at 2:15. And there's other things going on in the community. And it's just a day dedicated for kindness. So we're excited about that. The housing advocacy team of Stoughton is going to be coming to City Council in May to do an update on their programs. So we're excited to hear about the progress that they've made. And really, the other thing I mentioned during the course of the meeting is that we do have a structure report for the powerhouse. So I emailed that out to City Council members this morning, what we need to do to make sure that we can protect the structural integrity of that building until it gets developed.
Okay. And then under consent agenda, you had a few temporary retailers licenses for a softball tournament and Set in Mai. Is there anything you want to talk about for those?
Those are basically annual events. Set in Mai, it'll be much like it has been the last couple of years. There's always a few new bells and whistles, but we basically go through the approval process because there's a beer tent involved and we have to close the road for the parade. And then I believe this is at least the second year of the softball tournament, and that'll be at Racetrack Park this summer. And they get a temporary beer license for their event as well as a fundraiser for the Softball Association.
Okay. And then we'll move on to old business, Resolution 11 of 2025, talking about doing a feasibility study for a new utilities building.
Yeah, so you may have heard that there's interest from a distillery to purchase the Stoughton Utilities building, and Stoughton Utilities had on their radar to start the process of looking at building a more modern facility anyway, something that would be centrally located and would provide them an opportunity to, expand based on their needs. Currently, they have vehicles and equipment parked at multiple buildings, so trying to centralize as much as they can into one building would help them with their efficiency. So we had money budgeted for this year, and they basically wanted the go-ahead to start the feasibility study. One minor change that we made is we removed the address for Macomb Road. Stoughton Utilities own some property out there. They are going to look at potentially building it out there, but we really just didn't want to limit their options to one site in case, for whatever reason, that site wasn't going to be suitable to meet their future needs.
Okay. Under new business, we've got Ordinance 7 of 2025 for our first reading, amending the requirements for holding a special event license.
Yeah, so this is a first reading. It'll be coming back at the next meeting. And Park and Recreation Superintendent Tony King was there to explain kind of the process for facilitating special events permits. We're trying to simplify that process for not only city staff, but for those that apply for these permits. And most of the events are at city parks, so we're going to run through the Park and Recreation department, and then they'll distribute to the city clerk or the police chief if there needs to be additional review. So we're trying to streamline the process for the application and for city staff for approval.
All right. Resolution 19 of 2025, the adoption of a fund balance policy.
Yeah, so the next several items that were related to the city finances, you may have heard that our finance director, Alinger, is going to be retiring. So one of the things he is trying to do is help clean things up before he goes. He's been doing that for the past several years, trying to get us more in line with best practices in the area of financing. He's a CPA, so having that experience has been really beneficial. We're going to miss Dave. And the next several items were related to just really getting some policies and procedures in place that really position us better going forward as far as understanding how things are supposed to go in the finance department. So when the new finance director takes over, these items will already be in place.
So just to run down, we had a fund balance policy, a debt management policy, a post-issuance compliance policy, a disposal policy, and a budget policy. And then on to item number 13, Resolution 2024, Resolution 24 of 2025 to amend the 2025 adopted budget Fund 410 for capital outlay carry forwards.
So this is another thing that Director Ellinger has been trying to clean up is over the years we've accumulated some money into our capital improvement budget. It's money that was either budgeted and not spent, or maybe things came in under budget. There were other items that went over budget, and this goes back 2 or 3 years. So the idea was to really just kind of get caught up and reboot. So going forward, we can make sure that we borrow the appropriate amount of money and do the projects as much as we can in the year they're budgeted. In the past, the practice was to simply roll over the excess, and really state law says that we can do that, but in order to do that, we need to have city council take action on a 2/3 majority vote to do that. So those are the types of things that Dave has been cleaning up over the last few years.
All right. Ordinance 8 of 2025 is to amend Section 70-135 of the Municipal Code relating to some reserved parking spaces.
So this one was also first reading. There's a few parking spaces that we want designated for city parking. Some of them have already been used that way. We just didn't have it actually in the ordinance. And then we did add a few stalls at City Hall over by the drive-through. Those are typically used by city employees during the daytime. And we wanted to make sure that during the elections, if there was an emergency at City Hall, there would be a place cleared for emergency management to come in. That was recommended through an audit that was done regarding the elections.
Okay. So item number 15, Resolution 25 of 2025, conditionally approving the right of first refusal and right of reentry and reconveyance agreements for the depot building.
Yeah, so you might recall a couple months ago, City Council approved an offer to purchase on the depot building. And the next two items were really to kind of clean up some of the language in there for the first right of refusal. So basically what that means is if for some reason the Schmidt Foundation doesn't move forward, the city would have the opportunity to get the building back. And it's all stipulated in the contract language of what that looks like and what the expectations would be for them to develop the building. And then the amendment to the offer to purchase, there was a map that we need to do, and we were having difficulty lining up somebody to do the map. So we basically just extended the deadline to get that map completed.
All right, so the next item, number 17, Resolution 26, 2025, authorizing and directing the proper city officials to approve an updated structure, I believe, for the EMS side of the fire and EMS department.
Yeah, so Chief Fripp was there basically demonstrating kind of the new flow chart and delegation of duties within the EMS portion of the department, as well as some new titles for the positions that oversee some of the volunteers and those types of things. So we're basically working on that structure and then making the job descriptions consistent with that.
All right, the next item, Resolution 27 of 2025, is some newly created seasonal recreation positions.
Yeah, so the next several items are related to personnel, where we basically have taken positions and either through attrition for people leaving or moving the Park and Recreation Department from City Hall to Public Works, or really just updating job descriptions based on what people are actually doing versus maybe what an older job description said they would be doing. So these next items were really just trying to get those job descriptions consistent with what those employees do on a daily basis.
Okay. Resolution 28, 2025 relates to the facilities maintenance position.
Yeah, so that's another one where we basically had to change the title. There's been more and more responsibilities given to the person in that position, and we just want to recognize really what that position does.
And then Resolution 29 is a very similar thing with the engineering technician position.
Yeah, that one there is kind of evolved. We are up to, I think Director Aber said, 42 stormwater ponds. Just a few years ago, we had less than 10. So you can see there's been an emphasis on that as far as the urban service area amendments when we approved the stormwater management plan through the Capital Area Regional Planning Commission. So quite a bit of the time and effort that the person in that position is involved with is overseeing the stormwater maintenance as well as street construction projects and sidewalk projects as well. So we just wanted to make sure the job description really matched the responsibilities.
All right, the next item, number 21, got delayed. It was a case manager position description. They're going to do a little more work on that before it comes back to City Council. So Resolution 31 of 2025 is a leadership vacation policy.
Yeah, what we found, especially beginning with the pandemic, is our leadership team is basically our management team, and they've had a difficult time using up their vacation hours, and then they tend to carry them over from year to year. And we had a meeting with leadership a couple of weeks ago, and we decided that we were going to put a limit on how many hours they could carry over, basically, because it becomes a kind of a unfunded liability if somebody were to leave, or if somebody wants to take vacation and they've built up so many from previous years, it really makes it difficult for us to accomplish our work. So we've tried a few different incentives and things over the last couple years to try to create and give more opportunity for the management team to take their vacations. And it was just decided that if we take this approach, it's really going to force them to take the time off. We want them to take the time off. They've earned it. They deserve it. The challenge is really under the spending limits, we really don't have a lot of excess people, so it makes it difficult for those that are in management positions to take the time off that they deserve.
Okay. The next thing is a first reading of Ordinance 9, 2025, relating to repealing the Downtown Design Overlay District.
Yeah, so you might recall a couple of years ago, the Landmarks Commission went through a process where they updated their design guidelines. And as part of that process, there was a recommendation to create the downtown district. In the past, we had what we call the downtown overlay district. And really the way it worked is in the overlay district, we have two ordinances. One of them is Chapter 38, which is historical preservation, and the Landmarks Commission basically approves any of those properties that fall within that category. So a building that would be eligible and or is a local landmark. And under Chapter 78, the Plan Commission would make the determinations on those building plans. And those would be the buildings that weren't original buildings, so they were not contributing buildings or eligible to be historic landmarks. So we went through that process, and it was determined that we would have this historic district, so everything would go to landmarks, and then they would use the design guidelines that they had created for all of the buildings in the downtown district. It appears that we never repealed the portion of the Chapter 78 ordinance that related to the Plan Commission, so we're basically just cleaning that up now.
Okay, and that'll be back at the next council meeting for the second reading. Item 24, Resolution 32 of 2025, a conditional use permit for some apartments.
Yeah, so the next two items are related to the workforce housing project that JT Klein has proposed on 51 West. And previously they had received some approval to build out there, and that was under an ordinance that has been updated. So at that point they could build 96 units. They're proposing 120. So in order to do that, they have to meet some conditions that were outlined in the conditional use permit application that was approved last night, and they've assured us that they believe they'll be able to meet those requirements.
All right, and is there anything you can update us on about the JT Klein TIF request?
Yeah, so we've been negotiating with JT Klein on the TIF request for several months now. We think we're getting to a decision point, really based on the city council's direction. The city attorney was going to reach out to them and kind of let them know what we believe our final offer will be. And then really the ball will be in their court on whether or not they want to move forward with the project. They're still going through some processes and to get money that they might be able to use toward the project. They've applied for a 4% WIDA tax credit. Those credits aren't officially awarded until May. So that's really some of the things that we've been discussing. What is the appropriate amount of tax incremental financing support they need based on what we know? We don't have all the information yet because it's just not available. And then there's also obviously some uncertainty as far as what the construction costs may look like for new construction right now. So basically the city council gave the city attorney the information he needed to pass along to them, and then hopefully we'll get an answer here in the next few days and either move forward with them or the property owner will have to look for somebody else to develop that property.
All right. Sounds good. That's all we had for the March 11th, 2025 City Council meeting. We'll see you in a couple of weeks for the March 25th, 2025 City Council meeting, Council Catch-Up. I'm Derek Westby, your host here on WSTO TV. Have a great day.